So, welcome everybody to this edition. I got to change our things here a little bit. See if we can make that work. That works better. Welcome to Sunday Night Live with Ken and Cheryl. We have a special guest with us tonight. We've got Randy Skroback of Skro's Nest, and we're going to talk to him in just a minute. But to start with, let's go down our list of normal things. First thing, everybody, do us a favor, whether you're watching live or on the replay, put in where you're watching from. We always like to know where we find people that stop in to say hi to us. And then the other thing is you can ask questions. Just put them in the comments, and we love to talk to the audience and include them in the discussion. So we have a comment. Oh, we have Rhonda is here from California checking in.
Hi, Rhonda.
And Pam says, "Wow, are we early?" Yes, Pam. Good to see you as well. Those and so Randy, we'll start with you. Your web or your YouTube channel is Skro's Nest. So tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do.
Well, my wife and I, we started cruising back in 2007 and immediately fell in love with it and got addicted. And back then I was physically able to walk around and, do all that stuff. Well, about 10 years ago, I noticed like I was having sciatic nerve problems and developed I couldn't walk like long distances. So I had like I had back surgery where they fused L5 through L2, and that sort of got rid of the sciatic pain, but I still continue to have difficulty, walking. So I had another surgery where they implanted this thing that's supposed to kill the message going to your brain that you're in pain, and that didn't work. So I had that replaced with another one that also didn't work, and so basically I'm just stuck now, getting around the best I can. And I can walk, somewhat. I just can't do long distances, especially, on a cruise ship. You're kind of limited, So I can walk a little ways and I got to sit down for a few minutes and I can get up and walk some more. Well, that gets to be a pain after a while. So I decided, and after we did an Alaska cruise, and I hobbled around there, which, by the way, I saw your video the other day about Alaska, and I wish I would have had a scooter back then. But anyway, that made me make the decision, okay, well, I'm going to buy a scooter. So I looked around, and I found one that was easy to travel with. It folds up. It's about the size of a suitcase when you get it folded up. I bought a case for it, and when I fly, or when we fly, I can drive it right down, the jetway of the plane, get off, fold it up, put it in the bag. The baggage handlers carry it and throw it in the cargo. We get to, like we're meeting a connecting flight. When we get there, they'll bring it up to me. I get on the scooter, and I can drive, to the next connecting flight or whatever,
Very nice.
Yeah,
Very nice.
It's a great scooter. So anyway, because of the pandemic, we couldn't cruise. And so I thought to myself, well, we were getting ready. We finally did book a cruise. We booked the Mardi Gras last year. And I was curious to know who had what out there YouTube wise as far as, using a scooter on a cruise ship. And as you know, there's like hardly any information out there, actual people, like the way you demonstrate using the scooter. That's what I was looking for. And I could find hardly anything. So I got the idea, well, I'll make my own YouTube channel. Now, I also need to tell you that I've worked for the last 35 years in the video business. So I had a little knowledge, but my expertise was audio, not video. So I had to learn, from square one about, editing and all that stuff. So anyway, we went on the Mardi Gras. It was a family cruise. My son shot. It looks like I did. Oh, now I'm back. And my son shot the majority of the stuff. Got home. He lives in Colorado. I live in Tucson, Arizona. Now, what do I do with all this? So I had to go online again figure out how to edit stuff. And so I ended up, looking at a lot of YouTube videos on how to edit, playing around with different systems, all that stuff. And finally got my first video done and put it up. And it was, it was all right. I mean, I can see, because since then I've done like 3 cruises total. I can actually see the progression that I think my videos have gotten better as I've gone along, but again, everybody does that, get experience. So.
Well, and it's very nice what you're doing because Cheryl and I got started for the same way. Her back's fused. She's got 2 artificial hips, artificial knee, and we found it hard to find information. So we started trying to put together that. So let's talk a little bit. By the way, Pam, I understand you need a case for your fold up.
I need a fold up case and a case.
So if anybody wants to send Cheryl a case with a fold up inside it, we'd love that.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, by the way, where are you from?
I live in Tucson, Arizona.
Oh, okay. Yes, we've been there before.
We lived in El Paso and used to go to Tucson pretty regularly.
Oh yeah, it's really not all that far away, about 6 hours or so, something like that. So
yeah, it's not bad. Yeah.
Okay, so for our audience, if you find the weekly show interesting, do me a favor, hit like. It lets YouTube know they should share it. So let me now go to our next question. What is your favorite wheelchair accessible destination?
It's funny you mentioned that because I made a little note to talk about the worst before I talked about the best. And
okay, so tell us your worst then.
Well, I think San Juan, Puerto Rico is terrible. Have you been there?
No, we're actually slated to go there in December. We're
Oh, well, make sure you watch my video before you go.
Yeah, definitely have to do that.
But I was amazed, being considered part of the United States, how bad the ramps and all the accessibility and stuff like that. Not all of it, but a vast majority, and the roads and stuff, and because there's like a lot of brick roads, and over time they've heaved, so the ramps may be higher or lower than the road, so they're not even, and you'll see that, like, again, blatantly advertising myself, but when you watch the video, because I show different ramps around there that were just bad, and there was one point where I couldn't even find a ramp. I mean, I don't show this, but we couldn't find a ramp, and it ended up my wife and I had to pick the cart up and put it on the sidewalk so I could, continue. Wow. But surprisingly, I think one of the most accessible ports is Cabo, because I think that they've really done a nice job. You got a tender in, and the tenders are easy. Drive right on them. I mean, have you been to Cabo?
We were in Cabo in March. I just haven't gotten to the making of my video yet. We were supposed to go visit one of these all-inclusives there, but there was an accident on the road that went that way, and the taxi driver and I had a conversation, decided that was not a good gamble because there's only like one road that takes you out to where the all-inclusive was, and it was shut down and might not open up in time to either get out or get back. So.
And we had a short stay on the cruise ship there, plus the tender, so we didn't have the time.
Yeah, it's nice because, I was on Carnival. Well, I've done Cabo twice on Carnival. And you just drive right on the tender, and then you drive right back off the tender,
Yes.
And, it's very convenient.
We were there on Carnival as well. We had
we did Carnival during spring break.
Yeah, that wasn't the one in Cabo. We did a 3-day to Ensenada. Okay, so we have a question, and we're going to talk about Alaska and accessibility here in just a few minutes, because we'll talk about Alaska. So anyway, let me go back to you said Cabo was your favorite. Okay, so I'm going to say right now that my least favorite, since we did least favorite first, is NCL's private island in the Bahamas, because they don't have an accessible tender. And in reality, most of the times we've gone, the weather on that island has been so bad, we couldn't even get off the ship. Now, part of that's probably timing, but we've never been able to get ashore or to get Cheryl ashore, at least in the wheelchair. my favorite, I'm going to go to Alaska. I think Alaska in general has the most accessible ports. The port in Alaska that is not, and I'm just going to say it's not great for accessibility, is Ketchikan, because Ketchikan has a lot of hills. But if you have a scooter, it's not bad. If you're pushing a wheelchair, that changes the dynamic significantly.
Oh yeah,
You know, and for our guest that asked that question, I'll pop her back up here. Where'd the question go?
It's under
Click the right spot. So the first and foremost, I would say Skagway. Skagway is perfectly flat. If you stay in town, there is nowhere in that town you can't get with a wheelchair, and pushing a manual wheelchair. You don't need you do not need a motorized chair of any kind. Out of Skagway, we did this time we did the White Pass Railway. That's completely accessible, so that works really well. Like I said, we haven't
in the wheelchair. They'll lift. They have the thing that raises the platform that raises the wheelchair up into the train.
Yeah. So I would say Juneau is very accessible. In fact, I just posted a video of me following Cheryl out to Mendenhall Glacier, trying to keep up with her.
that was the one I saw the other day.
Yeah.
I'm always,
but
like, I'm always tempted to, crank mine up too and leave my wife behind. But
yeah. Well, she didn't have any compulsion. She had no compassion, no compunction. She just put it in, go fast, and went.
No, it was cool that day, and I was a little cool. No, I was hot. It was hot, and I was trying to cool off, and so I was like looking for the shady spot. So I just zip up to a shady spot and wait, and then I zip up to a shady spot.
Yeah. No, I think it was she was afraid there was bears, and she wanted to make sure they ate me instead of her. That's just my opinion. No, I can't prove it, but that's just my opinion. So going back to your question about Alaska, in Ketchikan, they have a really cool, accessible, in fact, I'm editing the video on that right now, but they have a thing that's called the Bering Sea Crab Fisherman, or Bering Sea Fishing Tour. I forget exactly what the name of. I have it in the video, but my memory's bad. But that was amazing, and it was really funny because Cheryl didn't think she was going to like that. She was, I don't really want to go. What did you think?
I thought it was going to be like a fishing party thing with men and beer, and I'm not into that. And so it turned out to be fantastic. It was so much fun. Whole family should go.
Yeah, you'll get to see more eagles than you'd ever imagine. And depending on which cruise line you're on, it was right next to us. We were there on, I forget which ship now. I just looked it up the other day. Anyway, we were southbound out of Seward, and we were docked right next to that. So you just off the ship and onto the ramp and onto the ship. Completely accessible. They had a wheelchair accessible restroom. They could probably handle 15 wheelchairs and scooters because they can take out like the whole front row of seats. So that is, like I said, I think Alaska is my favorite destination. If you're doing a southbound or a northbound trip, take the train from Seward or Whittier to Anchorage because that's the best accessibility. We did the bus this time. And if you can walk, it's not bad. The bus is faster than the train, but you have to be able to transfer and walk up a couple of steps to get on that.
My favorite for excitement is Icy Strait Point in Alaska. It is accessible. They had the piers there, right?
Yeah.
And we did the what was that called? The
zip line.
We did the zip line and we did a gondola. I'm terrified of heights, terrified of the gondola. The zip line was a blast. And
for me, the ride on the gondola up wasn't as pleasant as it could have been if I'd been in my own car.
Oh. Well, is that the one where you take you get off the pier and you walk down and it's accessible. Like you can drive your scooter into the gondola
Yeah.
And then it takes off. Yeah, I saw a video on that, and I thought, wow, that's really neat.
Yeah, that was
Yeah,
it was wonderful. Except I
Well, you-
cried halfway up all the way up to the top.
Yeah,
you're talking about
she
like
wasn't happy in the gondola. And the interesting thing is it's a ways from the gondola to the down to the zip line, but they have
Mhm.
no, they had a golf cart. It wasn't working the day we were there, so they took us in a truck. The road is
Right.
pretty steep, it's but they'll get you down there. And they were super helpful trying to. Hey Pam, they were super helpful in getting Cheryl onto from the waiting area out onto the zip line. And the zip line, they can handle pretty much any kind of disability, paraplegic, quadriplegic, because it's a chair that you're sitting in. The only thing that you have to actually
You have to be able to lift your legs.
you have to be able to lift
Or
your
have
legs
very
up,
short legs.
or they would have to find a way to get your legs up. I guess that would be the challenge if you were paraplegic. But they're very good at, they said, at finding ways to get people out there on it. So
They'll
yeah,
even-
Pam, you need to go.
Yeah, if you're
We're
not-
gonna go next year, Pam, if you want to go with.
So Cheryl, can you walk at all or much? Or
Yes,
what
I
is
have a
it?
walker I use at home, and I have a
Right.
cane like for really short distances, as if I'm holding on to somebody. I mostly,
Right.
my biggest problem with walking is like tile or anything that
Oh,
looks
yeah.
wet terrifies me,
Yeah.
and then I freeze up. So with the walker, I have more confidence and I can walk better. And then, but for long distances, I prefer like a wheelchair. But the thing is, I can't sit very long. So when I'm traveling, the plane, if you have 2 plane trips, right, and you got a
Right.
connection, I can sit on the first one. I'm getting pretty miserable by the end of the first one. Then we try to leave like a long layover, and my wheelchair reclines totally flat. So I can actually lay down for like an hour or two. Then I can get on the second part of the flight. I won't be happy, but I can do it. And it usually gets me to where I'm going that way.
And that's
Right.
assuming that the airline remembers to bring it up and doesn't either put it
Forget
out in baggage claim or forward it to your next destination, which is
Yeah.
Has happened.
yes, has happened. But so, like I said, the Crab Sea Fisherman was an amazing thing. I highly recommend that. Icy Strait Point. The only place you run into a little bit of a challenge at Icy Strait Point is if you're going from the gondola terminal that's over by the main port area. There's a little bit of gravel that you've got to work with. And that's a little bit of a challenge. So for whoever it is on Facebook, it's just a little bit of, and what I would suggest, and again, this is my suggestion, is rent a scooter. I would, you will be in all of the ports you go to, and I can't think of any place that I wouldn't be more happier with a scooter, with Cheryl in a scooter than with a wheelchair, unless it was somewhere you couldn't get transport that you needed. And by the way, Vancouver has excellent accessible public transportation. Video coming on that. We spent 3 days there, traveled all over. It worked really well. Vancouver, again, is one of those places better with a scooter than a wheelchair because of hills.
I found that out. The hills.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you another one that'll get you is we went to San Pedro. I got finished videos on that, and then we went over to Avalon. And San Pedro is so hilly, it's not even funny. And Rhonda wants to go to Icy Strait Point. So he said, we're going next year. We'll work it out so you can go with.
And Pam, we can go on the zip line together. But Ken might want you to ride with me instead of him up the gondola.
Yes. Yeah, next time I might want to walk up that really steep mountain rather than the gondola with Cheryl.
But you were talking about Ketchikan. There's a lot of areas right there by the port too that are relatively flat.
Yeah, you can
souvenir
get
shop and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
But like I said, I love one thing is I love about Skagway is there's so much history. 2/3 of the town is actually like a national park with all these historical buildings that date back to the gold rush, which is part of it. And the other thing I would say is if for people that haven't done it in Skagway, if you're not going to do the train, rent a car, drive out to Emerald Lake, stop at the Carcross Desert. That is just such an amazing trip. You will want to stop like about every 100 feet to take pictures because it is just incredibly beautiful. We love that trip.
They had great popcorn and chocolate there.
Yeah, Cheryl said they had great popcorn and chocolate.
And ice cream.
We've done the train, and we did an excursion where, we went up into Canada, and then they took you over to the desert, the little desert that's up there too.
Yeah.
And but it's beautiful up in there. So
it's incredible. Yes. And the reason I like renting the car is it's cheaper than two people on the excursion usually. And and the bus is not always going to stop where I want to stop for taking pictures. If I'm driving, we're going to stop. I don't care. I'm not on any time frame.
If you hit it a day when there's no wind and you can stop at some of those overpasses and look down and see the reflection of the mountains flat and that flat water, oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah. So Pam and Ron are headed back to Alaska also. Okay, so let's figure out what we're going to talk about next. I know we had some other things here. So we did destinations. So let me ask this.
Did he give his favorite destination?
Yeah, he did.
Oh, okay. All right. I have a short memory.
Well, I gave you my favorite for accessibility,
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I really, as much as I commented against San Juan, I like San Juan. I think it's a great little city. Or not little, but it's a great city. And,
Oh, I think my least favorite would be New Orleans because the streets are either so full of holes and the sidewalks are so full of holes, or they're tilted and and Ken's not paying attention. They're tilted and with holes. So I'm leaning I'm trying not to lean over, and then I'm hitting a bump and I'm trying not to fall out of the wheelchair.
Yeah, missing cobblestones are really rough in New Orleans.
Yeah, well, that again is like, in San Juan, they got so many of those brick roads and all that stuff, and it's just hard to negotiate. So
yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So
all right. So let me go back to. So, what are your two top favorite ways to travel?
Well, I like cruising, and I like car travel as well. So.
Yeah, cruising is my favorite. My second favorite, though, is I love the train. I am a huge train fan. Part of it is my heritage. My grandfather was an engineer back on the Santa Fe Railway back when they were steam engines. I had uncles and cousins that worked for the railroad in a variety of positions. I actually got to ride in the cab once.
Cool.
Yeah, and so to me, and I love trains. I like Amtrak, and I'm not as much of a fan as some of the recent, I won't say recent, but in the not too distant past, they made some changes about food and stuff. Because we went several times, went from Albuquerque to New York City, and there was something about sitting in the dining car, watching the slide by early in the morning, drinking coffee out of a nice mug of coffee on it with a tablecloth. It was, and to me, it's almost like cruising on land.
Yeah,
you don't have the hassle of driving.
It's a throwback to another time, So
yeah.
Have you done the train from like Anchorage up to Fairbanks? Have you done that one?
I have not done that one yet. I'm going to try for next year to do that. That train is totally accessible. We did it the other way. We did from Anchorage to Seward, which is an incredible journey for people that haven't made that. The road is a different journey, and it's very cool too. The train was amazing. So it just depends on your timing there.
If you're hitting it, really, it's easier to get accessible travel, I think, on the train there than on the buses.
Yeah,
it was very comfortable.
Yeah, so we were just kind of short on time and being thrifty, so we did that. So okay, let's all right. So for everybody, just a PSA, public service announcement. There's links for Randy and for Cheryl and I, all of our contact information. So you can click down there to follow Randy on his channel. He would appreciate it if you subscribe, just like I
absolutely.
There's a comment.
It's funny because it goes in spurts where you'll get a few and then nothing, and then you'll get, and it's like, oh, come on, So,
it goes faster and faster as time
as time goes, it gets better. I would say that.
Yeah. Well, that's it. Just getting the word out, because I just started doing this, like in October. So, I just have to be patient, really. So.
Yeah. Did you post that one?
Oh, I missed this one.
Oh yeah, Pam, you'll have a lot of fun if me and Ron and Pam go. We can ride in the gondola together and cry all the way up there together.
Yes, and I'm definitely in another car. I'm not sure I can survive the bruises, but yeah, Pam, the train that trip is really cool. In fact, I think if I do that, and we'll talk about it, and you can PM me, Pam, and Rhonda, and anybody else that's interested. Is it might be a flight to Alaska because I did an interview with the people that run the Gold Dredge and the river boat discovery in Fairbanks, and that looks like a lot of fun. It's totally accessible, both the train and that, and then go south to Denali, and then maybe stop at I'm thinking Princess probably, but stop at a lodge, spend some time, and then the train all the way down to either if it's Princess, we'd go into Whittier. I had to think about it.
Whittier, and I thought, oh,
Very good. You're right. But and Whittier is really cool. Whittier is a port I haven't been to, but one of the things that's cool about Whittier is they have 26 glaciers in College Fjord, and they have accessible tours, boat tours where you can go out and see all 26. Yeah. So Pam says, yeah, gondola. And then she said, is this the train I was going to take last year before COVID? Probably. Okay, so let's go back to.
Well, you've done the gondola in Juneau, haven't you?
I
No.
don't like heights.
Okay.
But
I wondered how accessible it was up at the top. So that was...
It is supposed to be super accessible. I just, like I said,
maybe Pam can get me up there.
Yeah, we'll put Pam and Rhonda and Cheryl in one gondola. I'll go in the next gondola and go up to the top.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go to this next question I have. Let's talk about what do you do when you're planning a trip to get things started, Randy? How do you work on your trip? What are some of the things you look? Where places you look?
Well, I mean, I check like, okay, say we're going to do Carnival, okay? So I'll look, and see if there's any deals or something like that. Also look at like vacations to go. That also, gives me ideas of things. And, if I see something interesting, and especially if it's cheap, because I'm cheap, then I talk to my wife about it. Well,
Thrifty is the word we use, not cheap. Thrifty.
We're thrifty.
The only downside is that she's still working, so her schedule is kind of limited. So
yeah.
So anyway, but yeah, so so once we picked out a cruise, to be truthful with you, either we book it through Carnival or we book it through Costco, because Costco, I don't know if you've used them for travel, but you'll get a shopper's card, because they don't take a travel agent fee. So they turn that money back over to you. So like, for example, we did a Panama Canal cruise this year and we got like $350 back from Costco. That's an afternoon at Costco really, but it's nice, and anyway, so once we find a cruise, then, you start looking at excursions. And I look at, where you're going. Okay, so say Alaska or somewhere like Hawaii, part of the U.S., I'm a little more open to booking something independent, But when you're in a foreign country, then, I'm a little apprehensive because, again, if you're late getting back, the ship will wait for you, where, if you miss out on the other way, too bad. You're standing there, on the pier waving goodbye. So anyway, once I find a thing I want to do, then I want to see, how accessible it is. So I'll look that up. And I've noticed, like with Carnival, they have started listing stuff like this is an accessible, or they'll have the same crew or the same excursion, only two different ways, accessible and non-accessible. And that's kind of interesting. I've also, booking, like, say, through Viator, I've called them, I've texted them, written to them, and asked them, is this accessible or not? And they're very responsive. They'll write back and let you know. And, and they've accommodated us numerous times here. So,
Yeah,
go ahead.
I was saying one thing about booking accessible excursions with the cruise line, do it early. There's spaces. There's very limited accessibility space. But I've noticed some of them now have, like you said, they have the same one, accessible and not accessible. And if they have more, if they have more people in wheelchairs that want to go, they'll make most of the family members ride the non-accessible one, and then so they can put more wheelchairs in. So that works out nice.
Right. Yeah, I've also found, like, with Viator a couple of times, like we went to Colombia. We stopped in Cartagena, and it was like a private tour. It was my wife, myself, the tour guide, and the driver. And that's really neat because, again, you're back to almost like renting a car. You want to stop, they'll stop, and all that stuff. So, but yeah, we've hit that a couple times where they sent, like, a private vehicle to pick us up, or our own personal vehicle. So.
And I would say this: Cheryl and I book less through the cruise line than we do on our own. Usually, in fact, if I book an excursion with a cruise line, it's because they had an accessible excursion. I wanted to film it. But I am the one thing that I've learned is all of these companies that offer tours, they know when those ships leave, and they know if they ever leave. Yeah. So they're going to be really careful about it. And sometimes you can find opportunities to do things that you couldn't otherwise. And I'll tell you where it first started. It was our first cruise to Alaska. We had booked whale watching independent of the ship. And the ship was a brand new ship for an NCL. It was late into port in Skagway. They canceled all the ship's whale watching excursions. We got off. They had a car waiting for us at the dock, and we got to go whale watching and see whales.
Because they had two ships. And they took one out to find the whales, and the other one waited for us, and it just zipped out and where they had already found the whales. So we got to see whales. So that was pretty cool.
That's good. Yeah.
That was really good.
Yeah.
But again, I'm a researcher. In fact, I make Cheryl nuts because I am one of these people that 2/3 of the fun of the trip for me is finding the answers. And it's like a puzzle. And I loved to get in there, and I'll start talking to her 6 months ahead of time, and she's like, "Tell me the week before we go, so I know what to pack." But yeah, Cheryl and I are travel agents, which is what makes it easy for us. We just book ourselves. Okay, so let me ask you this:
you didn't want to hear that Costco story, then?
No, I don't, because that one challenge, and I'm with a consortium of travel agents, and we exchange stories, and during the pandemic, there were so many of the agents were getting called by people that had booked through Costco, and now they were wanting help solving the problems. And that's the one thing that a good agent will do for you is they'll solve your problem.
You got that personal one-on-one situation. So
mostly what we do with our travel is that we make the videos and try to help people. We sell mostly to our friends, so it's not like you're not hurting us.
I mean, and I am a fan of people not doing it themselves, just because it is so easy to mess something up, and if you do it yourself, and then you've got no help. And I give you a good example. One of the things that was almost disastrous for us this year, and we're doing business challenges. This is kind of just a general challenge. Is our cardinal rule is we're always in port the day before the ship sails.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So we were going our cruise to Alaska. We thought, well, rather than make Cheryl fly all the way up, which is from where on the East Coast is about 8.5 hours on planes, we'll go to Seattle, spend the night, and then go up the next morning. We get to the airport in Raleigh, and they have canceled all the next day's flights out of Seattle to Anchorage. And we flew to Seattle hoping that something would work out, but we didn't ask the right question because we were able to get out that day to Anchorage. We could not have gotten out the next day to Anchorage. And so if we had booked nonstop or not nonstop, but we had booked the same day to Anchorage, we would not have been able to get on the cruise. A
lot of people weren't on the cruise. A lot of people they didn't have enough pilots for some reason. It was like the whole country was like short on pilots. I don't know if all the pilots were sick that week or what.
Okay, so I'm guessing, Pam, that you tie like 2 shopping carts behind you and you pull like a train through Costco. Is that, or excuse me, Rhonda, I'm sorry, I called you Pam. Is that maybe the why the small basket didn't help? You just know on this show you can't offer a target like that and not have me make a remark. Yeah, that will be nice.
Okay. So
Room wise, do you guys always book an accessible room or not?
Always.
No. Now, see, again, I don't, because I can walk well enough. I mean, scooter through the door, and I mean, it's tight fit, but I can get it in there. And then once I get it in there, I can walk around. And my idea is, or my thought is, I would rather leave that room available for somebody who really needs it worse than me.
I have
Hopefully they get it. It's not somebody else who's like, playing a game or something to get that room. But
I have because I have my wheelchair all the time, so I can lay back, and stuff. And then we also have a scooter, so we have a wheelchair and a scooter. And then we have a
you
tremendous
need more room.
Yeah, and then he has some medical equipment he takes, and then
I'm a CPAP user,
and then we have a lot of camera equipment. It's like, oh my, we're like way too much stuff.
Well, and the big thing is you can't park the scooter in the hall.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah, since if we're using a scooter, it's got to go in the room. The only way you can do that's an accessible room.
Right. And again, like I was saying with mine, it folds up. Once I get in the room, I fold it up, doesn't take up as much room. So,
And I have my own scooter. When I moved to Florida, I won't necessarily maybe have to take my wheelchair, but I'll have my scooter. I'll probably take, if I can't get one from Scootaround or something for some reason, then I have my own scooter, but it's a big old one.
Right, right.
Right now. And that's why somebody needs to send me a small scooter in a box.
Yeah. There you go.
Pam brings her own bed too, so. But I'm pretty sure that Pam, when she gets to the port, they unload all of her stuff with a forklift off of a moving van. Not sure. I haven't seen it. I can't testify to that, but I kind of think maybe. But so let me go. First of all, please subscribe, and what that means is if your subscribe button is red, hit it. If it's not red, don't hit it.
How's that?
Yeah. Subscribe to his as well. Yes, Skro's Nest. YouTube.com, and his link is in the description.
Did we do that one?
Yeah. And we talked about biggest challenge. We wound up kind of morphed into that one too.
Oh, okay.
We're looking at our notes, show notes on the side. Okay, so this has been fun. I want to let her.
You typed that wrong.
What?
You typed it wrong. It's next week.
Okay, no show next week. I don't understand, Lucy. What is your problem, Lucy? And next week, no show.
It's we're next week. We're moving, so no show.
Oh, you moving far away or what?
From North Carolina to Florida. We want to be close.
Oh, I guess that is.
Ports.
Yeah. Whereabouts in Florida are you moving to?
We'll be in the area just south of Lakeland, out there, kind of in. We're in a kind of in a mobile home park out in the middle of nowhere, but it is a senior mobile home park, and I don't have an acre and a half of grass that I have to mow or pay somebody to mow. And Cheryl knew that if I didn't move from here, I would not give up the garden. So, and
no, our garden is like 1/4 of an acre, and he adds to it every year. And I'm like, this is enough. We're gonna leave this for somebody else. We're leaving somebody. They got tomatoes, peppers, everything out there.
Green beans, black-eyed peas, okra. I picked probably 10 pounds of okra today.
Yes.
Okay, so Rhonda needs a forklift for her luggage. Pam thinks good pairs. Yeah, we're a collection. And Pam, so much thanks for joining us. Anyway, next week no show. We'll be back on September 4th. I expect to have. I'm hoping at least to have somebody from Pure Grenada on the show. I'll verify that on Monday. I thought we were going to do it next week, but that doesn't work. That's going to be a lot of fun because Grenada, and for anybody that's interested in an accessible place to visit, Grenada's got some really cool stuff. We'll talk about it with Zach from Pure Grenada, which is their tourism bureau, but they have accessible scuba diving, they have accessible cabs, they have accessible hotels, accessible restaurants. So we're going to find out and work together on building a plan to do lots of videos on that trip. And thank you, Rhonda. I appreciate it.
Well, it's nice having you.
Yeah.
Randy, it's real nice having you
Well,
here.
I'm glad you invited me. I appreciate it. And, hopefully we'll see each other in the future. What are your future cruise plans?
Okay, so I can share that. We're going we're flying on the 15th out of here to Barbados. So we're going to spend 5 days all inclusive in Barbados because Barbados has a really nice DMO that deals with accessibility. So we're going to do that. Then we're on Rhapsody of the Seas, which is going to Grenada, St. Lucia.
6 ports in 7 days.
Yeah.
So that's why you cruise, right? You don't have
Yeah,
to
that's
Martinique. Yeah, I'm trying to think. Trinidad and Tobago. I think I still Port-au-Prince. So anyway, so that's gonna be a lot of fun. We're gonna do a lot of ports, a lot of videos to film. Then we're back for a week, and then we're on Valiant Lady going to San Juan, St. Thomas, and Puerto Plata in the Dominican Republic.
Here's one reason that we need the accessible cruise. We video the accessible room for the cruise line, and we show how the wheelchair works in the room, and we show all the features up close. Like, here's how many plugs you have. If you have a CPAP, is there one by the bed or not? And try to get really involved. It doesn't take very long, but it's much easier if it's your own room and you just wait to put your luggage in there and you video it all.
Right.
Yeah.
But then you send it to the cruise line then?
No, we just post it on YouTube and share.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Royal Caribbean, you have to send Royal Caribbeans to them first sometimes.
Well, yeah, if they're providing any assistance, yes. So lately I haven't been asking for any help. I just go and do it.
They never actually. What's funny is all the videos we sent in, they only changed one word on all the videos. They asked us to add a word we missed. So, so we did a good job anyway.
Yeah.
Well, that's good.
So, Randy, just hang around. We're going to say goodbye to the audience, though.
Okay. All right.
It's been really fun being with everybody tonight. We'll see you in 2 weeks, and I got a bunch of new videos coming out in the next couple of weeks, so you want to watch the channel. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks a lot.